Well, it's been a very fun, trouble-free 0 miles being the owner of the cheapest McLaren with a clean title, clean Carfax, and clean auto check to ever sell in the country. And today, we get to find more problems. What is going on, guys? I am Watch J Ergo, and today, like I said, we are here with my 2012 McLaren MP4-12C. The car before they changed the name to just the 12C. This one has the original name of a fax machine. And today we're gonna make it mine and go service it over at German Motor Works and hopefully clear all the errors on the dash. I don't know if we're gonna be able to, but we're gonna try. Before we start the extremely complex service procedure, I need to do a couple things to make it mine. First, shout out to the guys that sold it to me because it was still an incredible deal and they've still offered to help me out however they can with this deal, but I am gonna take their sticker off now because I want to, run it without stickers, basically. Now, everybody saw the Instagram of the old owner on there. It said not wife approved, and I started peeling it off, but then I gave up because it just takes too long with your fingernails. So with a razor blade and it being okay vinyl, we're done. Look at that. A couple seconds. So let's talk about the 12C for a second because we haven't really talked about it other than some of the quirks that the early generations had, like swipe to unlock the doors and all that fun stuff. This was McLaren's first real production car. Obviously, they worked on many other projects over the years, and the F1 was like, it wasn't really a production car because they only made a handful of them, and I think they called that like a production race car or something like that because it had to have enough F1 models on the road to race the thing. So the F1, obviously incredible, and then when they finally decided to go back and make a car, they made this. And honestly, it's a pretty good first attempt. And I've always said the only McLaren models that I think are real are the F1, the P1, the 12C, and the 720S. Now, I much prefer the newer all-wheel drive ones like a 570. The 570 is a lot more car than this, I have to say. And honestly, the newer McLarens are just more reliable. They don't have all the quirks and constant random check engine lights and things that you're gonna see on this. They're still there, it's just a lot better. And I just think it's a better platform. But the 12C has always been one of the cars I considered to be a real McLaren. Now it's got that 3.8 liter V8 with twin turbos on there, and it makes 600 horsepower. They made a little less than 600, it was like right on the edge, and then you were allowed to bring your car back in and they would reflash it to just over 600 for free early on in the 12C days. Now, from what I can tell, this one has the sport exhaust that's clearly there on the window sticker, but it's also been flashed and it's way louder on start, so I think loud start's enabled. It's just really aggressive. So I do think mine's been tuned and it feels like it as well. It's a lot of fun to drive. Of course, it's rear engine or rear mid engine. The engine sits right about here and it's kind of in front of the rear wheels there. I'd say the back of the engine is directly in line with the center line of the back wheels there. It is rear wheel drive, and mine does not have any of the crazy options like carbon ceramic brakes. It has some old school steel brakes on there. Getting that power from the engine to the wheels is a 7-speed dual clutch gearbox, and it is a very good dual clutch gearbox. It's nowhere near PDK or the current Huracan Audi gearboxes, but it's good. I gotta say, it's better than the GTR's early dual clutch. For being what's honestly a really old car at this point, the thing's almost 11 years old. It's really good. And it has a really cool feature called precog. So here are the shift paddles behind the wheel, and they are connected together throughout the back of the steering wheel. So if you click one, the other one goes in the opposite direction, of course, and you could use that as like one paddle upshift, downshift, even though why would you want to do that? It doesn't make any sense. The paddles are set up correctly in this thing. I like them a lot, but precog, what it does is before you shift, you can see that paddle moves a lot. So to use precog, you hold the paddle right there, right before you actually shift. The transmission pre-selects the gear and gets ready, and when you hear that click, it shifts instantaneously. So that is unbelievably good. I'm a big fan of that system. But as far as the standard supercar with paddle shifters, this is kind of a unique feature, and honestly, I don't think anyone ever remembers to use it. I do on downshifts because it's fun to like just hear the click and the car instantly downshifts. But you get in all the other cars, GTR, Huracan, R8, whatever it is, and none of them have that functionality, so it's not great. And the thing I think it takes away is if you get in a Huracan and say you're on the highway and you're like, well, I wonder what gear I need to be in for a quick roller race or something like that. On a Huracan, you just hold the downshift paddle and the car will decide what the lowest available gear is and just slam it all the way there in one hit. I tried that in this, it obviously doesn't do it. I wish it did. It's really nice for the car to be like, this is the maximum RPM I can sustain, and just put the tach right there and you're ready to go. So that's the drivetrain on the 12C. It's pretty cool. This one obviously has some miles on it, and with miles comes kind of some failures. Also with miles comes less failures than everyone else is having, because at least my car's been driven. Seals aren't sitting, oil's not just leaking because the car doesn't get driven, and I've been driving it every day as well. But things like the door struts, so if I like open the door and just let go, it doesn't open all the way. And then you kind of have to help it, that little extra bit there, especially if you need clearance getting in and out. The climate controls are on the doors. It has dual climate control. You can turn it on and off from the driver's side, which is nice because obviously your passenger might adjust the air over there to freezing or burning up, and all of a sudden you can't reach over there to adjust it, but you can just push that button right there and it'll turn the climate control back off so you have control again. Auto headlights, I assume it's got some pretty cool wipers. The mono wiper is awesome. I mean, what mono wiper actually isn't awesome there? It does a great job of cleaning the windshield. I don't know if it's rain sensing, but I assume it is because that looks like the rain sensing wiper sensor. Try to say that 3 times fast. This one was optioned with heated seats. It's got memory seats. All that stuff works great. The Meridian sound system rocks. So far, it's been an absolutely awesome car. Far better than my R35 GTR ever was. And what's really funny is I paid $60,000 for my GTR, and I bought this McLaren. Can you believe that? I mean, the GTR is a Nissan. This is a actual supercar for $16,000 more. So absolutely crazy. That is a quick overview of my McLaren. The only other real option is the carbon door sills down there. The doors are horrific. Some of the worst doors in the world. To shut these things, you pretty much go through, well, outside I've gotten good at shutting them. Inside, I always have to shut the door 3 times before it'll actually latch. You know it's a hoopty when the main complaint is the doors don't close, and they literally do not close. So I have to instruct everyone on how to get in, but for me, when I get out, I have to get the door to about here. That way it's still sitting on the gas strut, and then slam it, which means putting my weight behind pushing it, like as hard as I can. It didn't work. Almost every time. There you go. I had all my weight in it. So that's a lot of fun. The passenger door works a little bit better. It's probably just a little bit less worn out. Obviously this car's old with a bunch of miles on it, one of the higher mileage ones that's out there. So we have some parts coming, and we're gonna resolve that with very cheap parts. This is gonna get fixed. It's the highest thing on my priority list because it makes it very hard to drive the car, because I feel like I'm gonna break it and it hurts my soul every time I have to slam the doors. You should not have to slam the doors with all of your strength. If it's an 80s Chevy with worn out door pins and it's been in 1 or 2 wrecks, then like fine. I don't mind slamming that door with all of my might, but I do mind slamming the doors on this thing that's built out of like a full carbon monocoque. The car only weighs 2,800 pounds, and here I am in there like, bam, as hard as I can. And then it doesn't even shut, and I have to do it 2 more times. Over here in the back, we've got active aero. The wing sometimes retracts when I shut it down, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know why, but sometimes it's got the nice clean look and then it stays up. This does have the McLaren speed brakes, so if you get on the brakes, you see the wing pop up and start helping you shut the car down with some extra air resistance there, and it works great. The wing does everything it's supposed to do. I just don't know how it sequences its shutdown and why it doesn't always retract all the way, but it does do everything it's supposed to do, goes up and down, and goes into speed brake every time I get on the brakes. Hard, that is. I think you have to be over like 50% braking force before the wing pops up, but it looks really cool when you see it come up. Power folding mirrors, they look very cool when they fold in. I think they only save about 2 inches, but they look cool. And of course, if you can't tell, the car is literally Bruce the shark from Finding Nemo. It's always looked like that. On the 570 looks even more like Bruce. But it's funny that Bruce is the shark and Bruce McLaren, well, I guess he wasn't involved with this, but Bruce McLaren started McLaren, and they built all the cars that look like Bruce the shark. And if you never saw that in McLaren's, I'll post this picture right now and you'll see it. All right, let's head to O'Reilly's to buy some McLaren service tools here. We're gonna go get some oil. It uses the same filter. The oil filter is an OX254, if I remember right, the same one as the Panamera. So Johnny should have that in stock, and it's time to go do a McLaren oil change. What, did you think I was gonna take it to the dealer? I can't afford that. It so loud, I gotta say. The check engine light is now on after a few people drove it around yesterday. It came back, you know, it had no check engine light that would stay on while I was driving it, and now it's fixed on. So let's jump on here and try to reset that, and try to reset this engine system fault as well. You better believe it, we're using Carly to reset that check engine light because it takes too long to get the big scanners on this thing. So hopefully here in a second, we can see that the car is very bad. Oh wait, don't. Ah. I wanted to read those, and I thought the bottom button was check issues and it was clear faults. But it cleared it all instantly. No more engine fault, no more check engine light, we're ready to go. Let's go drive this thing. Pro tip, if you leave your windows down, it's a lot easier to get out of the McLaren. A lot easier to shut the doors too. All right, let's go get some oil at the McLaren dealer. Starts with O'Reilly's, and then go change this. What's up? Thanks, guys. All right, we have our McLaren service parts here, which is just a bunch of oil. Let's go make this happen. We've got a bridge, here we go. And just like that, we're here at German Motor Works with the McLaren on the alignment lift. And hopefully that works out. I know we have to take a lot of the car apart. There's a lot of trays and stuff that have to come off the bottom of it, but I do think this is gonna work. And honestly, I'm a little scared of lifting this on a 2-post because the door is so much of the chassis. I'm sure I could get under it and find the lift points, but the door runs, you know, all the way back into here. So if you lift this car wrong, you're in trouble. A lot easier to take the safe route and just lift it by the wheels. Let's get it in the air. We can see that 7-speed transmission hanging out in there. There's some of the coolers in the back. These must be the reverse lights. They look very nice. Big air ducts that rip the air from underneath this car to help suck it to the ground. And honestly, this car, like I thought when I looked under it at Anaheim, it looks really good. All the underbody panels are there. Everything's complete. I guess it's actually really easy to lift this car. Well-marked lift points there, front and rear. Like I said yesterday, this car does call for specifically Mobil 1 European Car Formula 0W40. So that's what we've got. And also it uses the filter from the Panamera and Cayenne. So that's what we've got. This is brand new. It's just out of the box already. OX254. We wanted to make sure it looked right. So that's our service for the oil change here. And once you're done with your oil change, you're like, okay, I'll just reset the oil indicator or the service indicator light. No, you're not doing that. I'm not doing that. I can't do it. It seems like basically only the McLaren dealership can do it, or people that have spent $25,000 on, I think it's called the Leonardo computer, and that's what lets you run diags on this and clear the service indicator. So we're not doing that. So McLaren charges $600 for this oil change, and we're quickly finding out why. After I pulled off this first tray here, that's actually just for the transmission. This gigantic plate that's laying across the whole lift is what exposes the engine. So obviously that makes sense because the engine ends right up here, and here's that rear axle. So this is very much mid-engine. Now that you get in here and see it, this is your oil sump drain right over there. It's gonna be really tricky to change this. I'll have to like create like a scoop, some kind of funnel, so that we can get the oil over and off of the lift. This is your engine oil drain itself, and they also want you to pull the turbo return lines, both of those. So it's an 8 and an 8 on the clamps, and then you wiggle these lines out, and you're also supposed to replace the O-rings after you drain down those lines as well. So crush washer, O-rings, and a crush washer again, and that is how you get the oil out of this thing. Then you can go up top, swap out your filter, and you should be good to go. Well, we'll go up there and get the filter while it's draining. You're supposed to wait 30 minutes for this car to actually drain all the way down. We'll see how long it actually takes. Probably not that long, but it's gonna take a lot of time to get all this apart. I found some other cool things in here as well, like this cooling duct that looks like a brake duct and obviously comes out of the side scoop. But it turns out it's the AC compressor cooling duct. So I'm sure they were smoking AC compressors while they were testing this thing and quickly found out that it needed its own cooler. It looks like it has a brand new clutch on it. The clutch is perfect. So that looks like it was recently replaced. There's some sensors in here that look like they were just replaced as well. Alternators right there. It's driven off what appears to be shaft drive from the timing chain and the oil scavenge pump there. That's definitely one of the oil returns or pumps right there. Here's the actual oil pump. Dry sump. The starter's all the way back here. Shaft drive goes forward. This thing is wild. And it does have sway bars. Everyone says it doesn't have sway bars because of the proactive suspension, but it definitely does. And on one of these trays, when you pull down this underbody tray here, the TPMS antenna or the TPMS receiver module is actually mounted on that underbody tray. So pretty crazy. Now that we've kind of seen everything down here and it all actually looks pretty reasonable, let's get to work changing this oil. Now you guys can see the dry sump with the turbo oil feed lines removed and everything draining down. So all that's left now is to pull that plug right there, which is going to be a little tricky. I'm going to build a funnel out of a old coolant bottle. I think this has officially been the longest oil change of my life after pulling those two plugs, building a custom tool so I could drain the oil out of the sump while it was on the alignment lift. If you guys didn't see my custom tool, it's very nice. It worked out great. A little cut up coolant bottle right there lets me have a funnel that slides onto the lift and then drains out the old cap of the bottle, and you got a handle to hold on to it. So that worked great. And it's taken about an hour at least, maybe an hour 30 at this point. But we have all of the bolts back in. There's about 40 bolts that hold the underbody panels on there, and they switch between 8 and 10, so you're going back and forth with different tools, and we got it done. So I've got 5 1/4 quarts of oil in the sump. I'm gonna start it up and do the first check right now. They say these things are very sensitive to being overfilled, and you do not want to overfill them. So we're gonna start it up, start letting it come up to temp, and then run the oil check procedure. I agree, this is way too complicated, and it also kind of makes sense why they charge so much for it, because it's way too complicated. Sorry in advance for this. Here we go. All right, 5 1/4 is where you're supposed to start. Let's add another quarter. We'll be above oil level too low. This is very sensitive too. I put in a 1/2 quart the other day and it went from minimum to maximum. So it's not like a quart low if it says it's low on oil. Be very careful with this thing. A quart will probably choke it out. We got it. All right, oil level okay. Obviously it's still 2 bars below the perfect level. So I am gonna put in another 1/8 of a quart, which is insane. But I think that'll get it right where it needs to be, and then we'll have a little bit of extra oil in the car in case it ever drops while I'm driving it. And then since I can't reset the service indicator, we're just gonna write down what the mileage was and maybe throw it in one of the little window stickers. What do you think about this? Did you figure out how to open the door? I saw you were...
No.
Hoopy had one of these. So you swipe it like an iPhone. Start here, and then swipe to the back like it's an iPhone. That's how you open the door.
Wow.
Too bad they don't shut correctly, so we'll fix that. Later this week, we'll fix that.
Not bad,
yeah,
not bad.
You nailed it. All right, man, thanks for letting me use the lift.
Anytime.
This is not a job you can do at home on the floor unless you, it would be a one-day job. Oh, the radar detector. All right.
Enjoy.
Yeah, man.
It's beautiful.
It's such a good-looking car, especially from the back. It has like the perfect profile. But
I like it a lot.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the car.
It's by far the best car I ever had.
That I ever had?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too, honestly. All right, I'll throw a link to German Motor Works in the description below. I don't know if he wants to be servicing McLarens.
No.
I didn't think
you can
did.
do it, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you need your McLaren worked on, call Johnny and he'll bring me in, and just don't. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop.watchjericho.com for cool shirts, not like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. There you go, $600 oil change. It only cost me about $75. Oil, filter, all that good stuff. And we have more fun stuff coming to fix this later this week. I know I've kind of mentioned it, but we're gonna put some parts from a different car maker inside this McLaren, and it's gonna make it even better. And already with fresh oil in it, I trust the car a lot more. It just makes you feel better.